Good afternoon. It's with a heavy heart that the Fairfax County Police Department announces the death of Nelson Alexander Sr., 73 years old and a robbery shooting victim from the other day. I started off the press conference just the other day at police headquarters by giving the number for crime solvers, 1-866-411-TIPS. And tips we got. So thank you to this community for calling, sharing information with us. We join our community in offering our condolences, our prayers to Nelson, his family. Nelson goes by Cootie Bird. His family and his friends know him by Cootie Bird, very affectionate nickname that's apparently been around most of his lifetime, his 73 years of life. Didn't have to end like this, but it did. The young man who took Nelson's life knows what he did, knows who he is, and knows we're looking for him. I encourage that young man who undoubtedly knows what he did, knows that we need to get a hold of him to turn himself in. Be a human, be a person, be a man, turn yourself in. You can call 911, you can have a friend or relative, a parent, a sibling, a neighbor drive you to a local police station. We will leave no stone unturned until we catch Nelson's killer, and we will catch Nelson's killer. Turn yourself in now. Turn yourself in. We're going to go over the details of the other day. Major Ed O'Carroll, who's the Bureau Chief of our Major Crimes Bureau, is going to go over the details of the case, update you on a few investigative developments. But we still need someone to come forward and identify this young man who took Nelson's life. Took his life for no reason whatsoever. You know who you are. Undoubtedly, you have people who love you. You have friends, you have family. I suspect that some of them know what you did as well. And we're appealing to those folks who know the young man who committed this heinous, outrageous, atrocious act and took the life of a 73-year-old man who was still working each and every day and stopped by the ATM machine to get a few bucks on his way to work. That's all he did, and his life was taken because of it. So I'm going to turn it over to Major O'Carroll. He'll give you some details and some updates, and then we'll stand ready to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. This started as a robbery, turned into a shooting, and just several hours ago, a murder. The 19th murder in Fairfax County year to date. As the Chief introduced, I'm Major Ed O'Carroll, Bureau Chief of Major Crime, Cyber, and Forensics, the Fairfax County, Virginia Police Department. On behalf of the Police Department, Chief Davis, all the men and women, both sworn and professional staff that are not only working this case, but are responding to other calls for service, our deepest condolences to the family, friends, loved ones in our community. This event nearly 3 days ago didn't have to happen. It was senseless, and our commitment is this case will be solved. Just in the way of background, on Wednesday, October 20th, at about 5:20 in the morning, right where we stand today, 73-year-old community resident Nelson Alexander, as the Chief said, was on his way to work, just stopped at the ATM, was robbed, was shot, and was killed. This case has now transitioned to a full-fledged murder investigation. And this case is all about justice for Nelson, his son, his wife, his niece, the entire family, and again, our community. In terms of the investigation, I want to share with you that we've been working around the clock to identify the shooter and bring him or them to justice. We have uncovered security footage. We have shown that to you the other day of the encounter, the murder. We shared that with you. If the community that's watching or listening and learning of this case, if you haven't seen it, it's imperative, because it does show that young man who's now a killer on what he has done. But we've also been looking at security footage over this last several days, even several weeks, in and around this community, in the 2900 block of Annandale Road in Falls Church. And again, we're not far from Route 50 to give you a perspective of where we are in Fairfax County. Anyone that has security footage, and we ask you to look at it, look at the overnight hours. We do believe that this killer might have been involved in other crimes in our community. That's a very common trait. When what we saw here 3 days ago was most likely an unplanned attack, an unplanned encounter, and it turned deadly. That our killer might have been involved in other crimes in the community. It's not, again, entirely uncommon. So we ask community members to look at their security cameras that maybe cover their street, their neighborhood, and maybe you have footage of the individual out in the neighborhood, maybe looking into cars, maybe involved in other criminal activity. We are looking, again, for the continued help of our community. I am confident that we will identify this young man, but we do need the community's help. If you have information, contact the Fairfax County Police. Our non-emergency number is 703-246-7800. That rings directly at our major crimes office. Our non-emergency number is 703-691-2131. And as the chief said, if you know where the killer is right now, that's an urgent call to 911. I do have a message for the person responsible for this murder. As the chief said so eloquently, turn yourself in. But I'll also say that maybe something happened in the encounter that's off camera that you want to explain to detectives. We will listen to your story. You will enjoy a presumption of innocence, but turn yourself in. Surrender on your terms or be arrested on ours. I'll take any questions that you may have at this time.
Can you spell his name for us?
Yes, Nelson is Nelson, middle initial D for Daniel, Alexander, common spelling. And again, our deepest condolences to Nelson's family, his friends, and our community. This is the 19th murder in Fairfax County, 19 too many. Many of them are solved, and we're confident that this one will be one of the solved cases that we can update the community on.
At the end of the surveillance video, you see them come a little bit to, I believe, the right. Any idea as to what may have happened? Do you know if Mr. Alexander was maybe trying to protect himself or what happened in that moment, or he had already been shot?
Yeah, so I've seen the entire video surveillance. Let me just say this. Nelson did nothing wrong. You know, I suspect it was a very unexpected encounter. You know, it's 5:20 in the morning and he's heading to work. As the chief said, he's 73 years old and still working in our community. And I think the young man who is now identified as a killer probably startled him and surprised him. The outcome, again, is what breaks our heart. He fought for his life for 72 hours after that encounter. And I do want to also say this on those remarks, is we have the best hospital staff, nurses and doctors, you know, the hospital heroes that worked real hard to save and preserve Nelson's life. And at 12:51 today, he succumbed to that injury. And frankly, this case has me and us mad because it didn't have to happen. In the video you saw and I saw, there's no resistance. There's no resistance at all. So that's why this killer is Fairfax County's public enemy number one. Next question.
Could you speak to how he was lying here for about an hour, and how heartbreaking that is, and the fact that he was alone and I suppose was one found him?
Yeah, so if you hadn't heard the question, that is an unfortunate set of circumstances that Nelson did lie here. Someone did discover the vehicle here, the door open, and Nelson injured on the ground and rendered aid, called 911, and the best fire and rescue service responded. So did the best police department, and again, best care at the local hospital. It just didn't work out in Nelson's favor, and that is heartbreaking. There is a window of time that between the occurrence and the first report to 911, and I only assume it's the time of the morning. I've been here. I've worked this area as a police officer. This is a busy place. It's very busy. That time in the morning, not so much, and that is unfortunate.
Can you speak to how the family is doing today? Obviously, this is a traumatic experience, tough day, but how are they doing?
Sure. And I'm going to turn over to Chief Davis for some of those remarks. Thank you for asking. Thank you.
Well, the family, a large, multi-generational Fairfax County family. So Nelson, and again, I think I said it earlier, they all refer to Nelson as Cootie Bird. And a couple of the relatives say, if you said Nelson, they'd say, who's that? It's Cootie Bird. Very, very big, close-knit family, multi-generational. We have our victim services advocates who are working with this family, with Nelson's family, like they do all of our violent crime victims' families. It's tough on them. We're here with them, for them. So is the entire community. We shared with the family earlier that the tips have come in. Numerous tips have come in, and that's good. But we can't stop now. And one of the reasons why we think it's very important to be here at the scene where Nelson was shot, really in cold blood, is because we want the person responsible for Nelson's death to know that we will not stop until he's arrested. We want him again to turn himself in. He's young. He's probably scared, like Major O'Carroll said, no doubt about it. That's a real emotion. And because he's young and he's scared, probably the first time he ever fired a gun, maybe, he's probably told somebody about it. A friend, a family member, maybe even a parent. You can't hold on. You can't sit on that information. You can't. So call us. Like Major O'Carroll said, this young man can surrender on his own terms. We'll ensure it's done safely. We'll take him into custody safely, and he will be afforded every right that any arrested and charged person is afforded. We do want to hear his story, but we need him off the street. This can't happen again. This shouldn't have happened to Nelson. Shouldn't have happened.
Could you spell Cootie Bird? Do you know what that means? Or?
So I don't. I can take a shot at it, but I think it's phonetic.
Is there any message from the family that y'all would like to share that we can get out in case someone does hear this and that can stir something in their heart?
Well, I'll let the major. We both spoke to some of the family members. They want the. This is a journey that they're on, but the arrest of the person responsible for their loved one's death is part of this journey. So they are helping us in numerous ways. They know the community has stepped up. They're a part of this community. They go to church right down the street. They shared with us. So they know this community cares, and this community is going to step up. And it's just a phone call away, a tip away. We're going to reach a conclusion that will result in the arrest of this killer, of this gunman, of this scared young man. But we'd sure like it if he cooperated and turned himself in.
Yeah. So as the chief said, we've talked with some of the family members. We're working for them. We're working for Nelson around the clock. But I don't want to say anything more that tries to put words into their heart, because just imagine to lose a family member to an act of violence, again, heartbreaking for them. It inspires us to work even harder to get closure. Nelson was, had 10 siblings. He's one of 11 kids in the Alexander family. So large family. As Chief said, they're local. and we love them, and we're going to work for justice.
Last question, guys. Good.
Thank you for joining us today.